In a year where there's no true dynasty superstar at the running back position, we are going to be breaking down the top 4 running backs in this 2024 Dynasty Rookie Draft class and determining who should be the running back 1 from this class. Starting off at 4, we have MarShawn Lloyd, who is consensus probably the running back 3, running back 4 for most people. He pops out to me as a guy that doesn't particularly do anything at an elite level, but he does have a bunch of nice traits all around the board. Starting at his size, he's only 5'9", but weighs 220 pounds, which is a good size for an NFL back, good size to potentially be a 3-down back. And these 3-down backs, you want them to be able to carry a large workload. You want them to have good size and, of course, good athleticism as well. And he did that. He showed a 9.29 RAS at the NFL Combine, which is pretty important when it comes to running backs compared to all other positions. You want these guys to be athletic. On top of having a good workload, of course, is how you get those elite producing running backs. Now, Lloyd started off his career, he didn't really do much as a freshman towards ACL, had a decent 2022 campaign, 573 yards, so it's not like he just came out of nowhere, had 5.2 yards per carry. Then he went to USC and had a much better year, 820 rushing yards, 9.1 yards per carry, and most impressively, he only had 13 catches out of the backfield, but had 13.21 yards per reception. So something that I've kind of came to understand is, of course, it's great to have a ton of receptions, but it's more important with what they actually do with them. Because if you're a running back, one guy in particular, Bucky Irving, had, I believe, 57 receptions, but he's not really doing anything. If you watch the tape, all 22, you're looking at him getting just a bunch of dump-offs, which isn't particularly impressive. Any running back can do that. I feel like in college, it's very dependent on the scheme, the quarterback, and obviously those are going to be factors in the NFL as well. But it's a much better idea to see what they can actually do with those catches. And if they can turn into big plays, there's probably a reason for that. Of course, I like to see a larger sample size, but it is still a very, very good mark. Overall, I don't think Lloyd is even being talked about as a round 2 running back, so I don't have him super high. Of course, draft capital is going to change everything, but he's not the most explosive back. He's not the best pass catcher. He's not the biggest bruiser back, and he's probably not going to get the best draft capital. So I think he's good in a lot of aspects of his game, but I don't think he's necessarily elite in all of them. Now, my running back 3 is a guy that completely popped out at the Combine, Jaylen Wright. He is a player, when you watch his All-22, his explosiveness, his quickness, his speed jumps out at you, and he has the numbers to back it up. Wright showed great athleticism on tape and was confirmed by his 9.81 RAS score, had an 11.2 broad jump, which was the second best mark for a running back of all time, not just at the Combine. He also ran a 4.38 40-yard dash, which was the second fastest running back time in the class, behind one of my favorite sleepers, Isaac Garendo. So huge Combine numbers. NFL teams are starting to really like athletic running backs. So I've seen a ton of mock drafts where Wright's being mocked in the 2nd, 3rd round to potentially the Cowboys. The Cowboys running back 1, almost no matter who it is, could be the Dynasty Rookie running back 1. So that's a big deal, and especially if he gets good, draft capital as well. Now, one of the knocks I have against Wright is he's not a fantastic pass catcher. He caught 22 passes, but here's where my yards per reception mark comes in. Only 5.7. You can see on tape, a lot of these passes are kind of right next to his quarterback. Even though Joe Milton has a big arm, he's not necessarily targeting Wright super far down the field. Now, it is also important that I would love to get these ADOT numbers. Running backs, very hard to come by, and I kind of have to do a lot of that from the tape. Wright is a guy that's being targeted closer to the line of scrimmage, which is not necessarily as transferable to the NFL. Overall, Wright checks a lot of boxes. He's an early breakout, early declare. He wasn't necessarily an elite producer in college. As a junior, had 1,013 yards. Pretty good, 7.4 yards per carry, only 4 touchdowns. Obviously, 1,000 yards is nothing to fawn at, but it's also not like Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs level where he's an elite producing back. He has a ton of upside, but he's definitely going to need to be in the right situation, considering he's more of a explosive back, not necessarily a can't-miss back that's going to be a 3-down back no matter the situation. Now, we're going to go to my running back 2, and that is Trey Benson. He is a lot of people's running back 1, and I get the argument. Just watching him on film can be painful. And I hate to say it, but his vision is just not good, and I don't understand when people actually think it's a strength for Benson. Some people do, some people don't say it's an issue at all. It's very clear that Benson is a great athlete. I want to put that out there first before I'm kind of coming in with some knocks. He's a great athlete, but he tries to use that too much and bounce everything to the outside. He doesn't take what's given. He tries to hit a home run every play, and that's not something that is going to work in the NFL. However, he did measure in at 6 foot, 216 pounds, exactly what I want out of a potential 3-down back. Has great size, elite speed, 4.39 40-yard dash, so just a tick behind Jaylen Wright, who we already said is super explosive. Same applies for Trey Benson, and had a 9.78 RAS. So we know, elite athlete, great size, and that is really all you can ask for out of a running back. Now, like I said, he doesn't really take what's there all the time. His film isn't great, but that said, he can hit the home run when he gets into space, and he has that breakaway speed. Had 990 yards at FSU, 6.4 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns, and caught 13 passes. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be a round 2 pick, probably in the same range as Jaylen Wright. Honestly, considering how explosive Wright is, I wouldn't be surprised if NFL teams are starting to like that even more than just a big back that's also very fast. I think Jaylen Wright is even more explosive than Trey Benson. It's going to be close depending on draft capital, but he's also early declare, so that's another check in the box for him. And my running back 1, the only person we haven't mentioned yet, is going to be Jonathon Brooks. I know it's not the most exciting pick considering he tore his ACL. There's no new buzz around him, but I'm going to keep my head above the waves. Brooks is a fantastic player, and ACL injuries are becoming increasingly less career-ending and career-altering, especially when it's only in one place. It's not like he had ACL, MCL, like a multi-ligament knee injury, injured multiple parts of his knee. It was a pretty clean ACL tear, I believe. That's what the report's coming in, but you know how these college reports can be. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is from the information I have. However, before that, he was the clear-cut running back 1. So I'm going to say I think that he's going to get good draft capital. He's being mocked as the first running back off the board in most places. Assuming that's correct, that's telling me that NFL teams aren't too concerned about his injury, so I'm not going to be as well. They're the ones with the medical forms. They're the ones signing off on him, so I'm all in on Jonathon Brooks. It's also very, according to the injury, you're saying, okay, why wouldn't he go back if it was super bad, if teams were worried about it? Odds are, not odds are, he 100% has contacts through his agent to NFL teams that are saying, if you come out now, you're going to be a high draft pick. So that's why I'm also assuming he's going to go high in the NFL draft. And teams aren't caring about his injury or think it's a big deal. That's just what him declaring after tearing his ACL is telling us. So let's listen to that. Let's use our context clues. But in just 11 games, Brooks ran for 1,139 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns, caught 25 passes, and averaged 11.96 yards per reception. Those stats are all clearly well above the other players we mentioned, especially the yards, only 11 games. Again, he did get injured, so that's knocking against it as well. And 25 passes caught is great. Then on top of that, he has 11.96 yards per reception, which is, we talk about MarShawn Lloyd has a great yards per reception mark, but he has almost half the passes caught than Jonathon Brooks. So that is a massive deal. Outside of tearing his ACL, Brooks is really everything you can want. He has good size, good speed. He's a fantastic runner, takes what's there, can't hit the big play, great pass catcher, good burst, decent blocker. It seems like he's a very well-rounded across the board. He's a guy that I'm very confident can develop into a 3-down running back with a ton of upside, catch a lot of passes, be that bell cow, which is becoming increasingly harder to find in the NFL. So if we have that type of model, that type of productivity, we can sign off on his film. I'm all in on Jonathon Brooks. However, I can see the case of you wanting, maybe a Trey Benson because of his upside. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come down who gets drafted by the Cowboys because obviously we've seen that offense and offensive line is so good, it is going to propel them because they're going to be the clear-cut running back one in 2024 based on how the roster looks right now and who gets the best draft capital. We saw guys like Zach Charbonnet, who was the best prospect, go to a horrific landing spot, so these rankings will change. However, that's what I have right now. If you disagree with me, let me know down below if you think my rankings are great. Also, let me know down below, but please tell me why. Let's talk about this. But with that said, it's almost NFL draft, so subscribe, like for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.